Hello, I'm Gregory Harden II, and this is the Green Corn Rebellion show, and I am here with my friend and Alicia Andrews, who is the chair of the Oklahoma Democratic Party and has been since 2019, and she is running for re-election as state chair at the convention in a couple of weeks. How are you doing today?
I am well. I'm well, and I'm glad to be back with you.
Yeah. So I guess I'm pretty sure this is a question I asked the first time, but just in case other people didn't know this about you or didn't know your story on how you got interested in politics, but how did you get started um, in politics, whether it be within the Democratic Party or just as a kid? What was your interest in politics that got you started?
So, first question I need to answer right out the gate. I've been a Democrat since I was 18. So, let's be clear there. I've been a Democrat since I was 18. And when I turned 18, my parents had been divorced, but both of them called me because I had a car. I was responsible for getting me around, but both of them called me and asked me if they could go with me to register to vote. And for me to be sure to register to vote, fortunately, I had already registered to vote. But how I got involved in politics. So I've always cared about politics, up to and including getting in trouble in eighth grade when um, Ronald Reagan was being inaugurated and they were giving him credit for the hostage crisis and me throwing a fit at school. But how I got involved in politics as an adult, always cared. But when Mary Fallon got elected with less than 35% of them, got reelected, and I found out that less than 35% of registered voters actually showed up, I was livid. And so I started like helping local campaigns, paying attention to local campaigns, not even knowing that there was such thing as an Oklahoma Democratic Party, but just helping with campaigns for people that I thought had a good shot and people that I believed in what they said. And then Donald Trump came down the escalator and I was livid. And not because I loathe the man, which is true. I've loathed a lot of people who were politicians before, but because his tactic was just to attack, just to attack anybody that wasn't like him and to pretend like he was something that he wasn't. And I just couldn't stand it. So I found the Tulsa County Democratic Party again. I'd gone to a couple of meetings, but I didn't know what it was. But I found the Tulsa County Democratic Party again, volunteered, ran for office, was the secretary of Tulsa County, and then worked on the coordinated campaign and then ran for chair. Ooh, that was a long time.
That's cool. So I guess since this is the end of your second term, what are some of the accomplishments that you had set out to do since you've been chair, whether it be first term or second term, and how far along are you, or which ones have you accomplished or gotten a ways away to accomplishing?
So in my first term, well, when I was running for my first term, what I wanted to do was add professionalism to the party, um, get the party out of debt, and stop losing seats and start to gain seats. That was my baseline, what it was that I wanted to do. So in my first term, I got us out of debt and I started the foundation for a more professional party. And then in my second term, I wanted to build on that because you can't do anything when you owe as much money as the party owed. You can't set about hiring new people, setting new standards, um, assisting with campaigns unless you have money. So I got us out of debt. So the second term, it was to start gaining seats and to continue to provide tools to help our county parties and our volunteers and our candidates and to actually start adding seats. And so where I am today, we're out of debt. The level of professionalism at the party is at a level that it hasn't been since I've been aware of the party. Do we have ways to go? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think we will always have a way to go because we need to always improve. And then in the 2022 election cycle, um, we ran a lot of candidates. We ran a lot of quality candidates, and we ran candidates outside of our stronghold cities, right? Everybody knows we're going to run candidates in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Norman. We did that. But there were candidates like you in Shawnee, and there were candidates, in Muskogee, and candidates in Enid. So we ran candidates Lawton all over the state because you got to start building outside of the strongholds. That's the only way that we're going to make a difference. And we gained a seat in the House. We hadn't gained a seat in the House in over 12 years. We gained a seat in the House. We lost a seat in the Senate. I have to be honest and tell the whole truth. We lost a seat in the Senate, and that seat was drawn Republican all along, and we weren't able to hold it. But what we didn't do was lose a seat in the House, like I said, and as a net, we didn't lose seats. We hadn't been there since about 2012. So we've improved on our standing of elected Democrats. And we run a lot of municipal offices that are Democrat. So we've improved on our overall standing. And we need to run more candidates. But in order to be able to run more candidates, last year felt like a stress test, right? We weren't in debt. We had more of a handle on who the candidates were. But we didn't have an infrastructure. We lost a lot of our infrastructure during COVID because Democrats were smart and went home. Now we got to get them to come back out. And we lost a lot of our infrastructure in our county parties and in our federations. And so last year was a stress test. We had a lot of candidates, but not enough help. So what we have to do going forward is make sure that our county parties are strong and that we're rebuilding. And I will say in the calendar year 2023, we have re-energized 6 counties that had gone dormant. 6 new counties in this calendar year that had gone dormant. We have made it possible for them to be back up and running. And we've got to continue to do that work so candidates have a foundation. Every year since I've been chair, we've had a campaign academy where we've offered robust training for candidates, volunteers, and professionals. We're going to have to offer more of those because we need to train up a lot more, and I'm going to use this word carefully and deliberately, a lot more competent, reputable campaign professionals. And so that's what we will do in the next phase, should I be fortunate enough to be elected again.
All right. Yeah, the county party issue, that's something that I realized. I mean, I've always known that county parties were important. But whenever I was running last year, I started to, get to know more people within my area, more Democrats within my area. And even since the campaign, I've gotten to know how many people who were Democratic elected officials in my county, in my area, who were elected up until 2010 or even more recent than that, or just in my lifetime. And a lot of people, whenever I would knock on doors or whenever I'm at the campaign events here in Pot County or in House District 26, they would be older than me. People who were in their 40s and 50s who would say to me, I felt alone as a Democrat in Shawnee, Oklahoma, all these years until you knocked on my door or until you invited me to this event or until you ran for office. I was like, how did you feel that way if you've lived here during Brad Henry being governor? I think, what was it? His successor in the state Senate was Charlie Laster. He was in office until 2012. And I was still in high school then. And then let's see, my county commissioner, I just learned this recently, was a Democrat until 2010. And I recently my dad has always known him, and he told my dad about me becoming vice chair of the Potawatomi County Democrats and running for House District 26. And he said that he's glad to hear that young people are getting involved in Democratic Party politics in Pot County, because he was District 1 county commissioner for 20 years, and he never ran against a Republican. He only had a couple of primaries. And now it's the other way around, where the Republicans, they'll have their primary, but no general. Um, but having that knowledge of who was elected when and recently, and that a lot of these people are still alive, and we could talk to them and possibly get help on who to talk to about who to get money from, who to get support from, how they got support whenever they ran. That's also important. That's why county parties need to continue, and how they're going to be able to help out candidates. Even if those candidates aren't successful, they're going to have knowledge that they can pass down to future candidates. So it's really important, and it's a good thing that you've been able to get county parties restarted. How many county parties do we have currently out of 77 counties?
66.
Okay. That's more than I
60.
thought it was going to be. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, really, we lost a lot of mainly some of the small counties, particularly rural counties, who were having to drive into town for their meetings and were meeting in public spaces because they didn't feel comfortable traveling or meeting in public spaces during COVID. And because this is largely a volunteer activity, folks found something else to fill that time. And so what we have to do is remind them. And my way of reminding folks that our democracy is under attack and we still need to be fighting is just pick, a statewide legislator, pick, someone who's in the news and they're doing something crazy. Got to remind people that Ryan Walters is a superintendent of public instruction. That should be enough reason that we have to pay attention. We have to pay attention and build our party so when it's time to elect him out. And I'm hoping that he doesn't survive his entire 4 years. I don't mean die, but I mean that he doesn't make it through his entire 4 years as a superintendent, because he is showing, true derelict of duty. He's still campaigning, not doing the job. And we have to be ready. The next time it's ready to run a superintendent of public instruction, there needs to be a fertile ground for our candidate to till and be able to run. And so that's why we have to run. We have to run candidates in many places as we can to help county parties. But like I said, Brian Walters, Governor Stitt, pick either one. Those are perfect examples. J.J. Humphrey, Nathan Dong, perfect examples of why we have to stay ready. We need to not be worrying about getting ready. We have to stay ready so we don't have to get ready.
Exactly. Another thing to mention about how certain seats around here in my area used to be Democrat not that long ago. In my lifetime, my state Senate seat went from Brett Henry to Shane Jett. That's the line of succession there.
That's a swing, right?
Yeah, and I tell people that, they're like, wait, that's the same seat? I'm like, yeah, it's drawn a little bit differently, but Shawnee is the bulk of that seat, and it's still the bulk of that seat now. But yeah, it's county parties are important, because that short bit of knowledge that was just lost is something that is important for people to know, so we can actually continue to fight people like Shane Jett or Ryan Walters or whoever else might come down the line.
Mark Wayne Mullen.
Exactly. Yeah, especially Mark Wayne Mullen, because he said he was going to limit himself to, what was it, 2 or 3 terms in the U.S. House, and now he's going to be our senator probably for however long he decides he wants to be there, or until someone actually beats him. But yeah, so let's see. So for people who would like to say, um, the state party hasn't done a lot, or they're not feeling like the state party is doing enough within their area, whether that be in a more urban area like more, because I've heard this from people like in more, they'll say that, and I've heard this from people who live further out from an urban area, like out in Stillwell or um McAllister, not McAllister, but you follow. Yeah. What would you say to them if they were to say that to you? The state party isn't doing enough. The they don't feel like they're doing enough, and they're not seeing the effects of effective state party.
Well, okay. So I absolutely appreciate that question because it gives me an opportunity to just do a little education. And so the state party, we have staff, but when I think of the state party, I think of registered participating Democrats. And so when people say the party should be doing, my first reflex is come on in, help us do that thing. Because currently, the folks who are paid by the Oklahoma Democratic Party, I get a small stipend that is not a real salary, but I get a small stipend. The executive director gets paid. We have a communications director, operations director, outreach director, and right now, in a temporary position, we have a convention coordinator. So you see the staff, there's not a whole lot. And so what are we doing? We are working to multiply the party, right? When people say we're not doing enough and we need to show up in every county all the time, and the reality of it is that this is the staff. This is the staff. And so our job is to help Democrats all over the state build a nest where they are. And that's why I led early with we are helping dormant county parties stand themselves back up, get reorganized, helping them find delegates for convention, helping them find leadership, helping them open bank accounts and walking through the process, because that's how Democrats are everywhere, is that we have 77 counties, right? We have 77 counties and there should be 77 county parties. And so when someone says that, my first reflex is, awesome. It sounds like you have a specific thing you'd like for the party to do. Let's talk about how I can help you do that. Because that's what needs to happen, is I need to help you do that. A lot of our federations, which are constituency groups, African American, Latin, disability, Native American, a lot of those federations also went dormant. Well, if you are paying attention at all, you see that all of those federations are having breakout sessions at convention, because I've been working to stand those back up, because it's not just that we're organized all over the state, but we need layers of organization. So someone may not feel comfortable going to their county party, but they are of Native American descent. Well, they can come into the Native American Federation and find a place of folks, hopefully that that they can resonate with, and then come into the bigger part of the party. So what we've been doing is working to plant seeds all over the state to build up the party. That's an interesting thing, and I hear it. But what's interesting to me, when someone calls my phone to tell me that they don't know how to get in touch with the party, or that they feel like the party isn't reachable, I smile to myself, because I'm thinking, you're calling me on my personal cell phone that I pay the bill on. You're calling me, which means I'm accessible. The party is accessible. I take my cell phone with me all the time. The party is accessible. And so what the state party is responsible for doing is planting seeds everywhere. With regards to messaging, which is another one of those we don't hear from the party. With regards to messaging, I try everything I can to be in as many news outlets as I can every week so that some reporter is either typing or saying the words Oklahoma Democratic Party, because I take it seriously that Democrats who are sitting at home need to know that there is a state party. And the way that I think I do that is by showing up all over the place. And you know this because I came to your county convention, but by showing up as in many places as I can, but by also being in as much media as I can, which I think you will respect. I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert. And so stepping out and doing podcasts and doing on-camera interviews and talking to reporters on the phone is my way of making sure that folks in McAllister and Stillwell and Shawnee, Pot County, and more know that there is an Oklahoma Democratic Party. I kind of think they do if they know to complain about it, but know that there is an Oklahoma Democratic Party.
Yeah, I was gonna say, whenever I get that question from people, because people will either say it to me or they'll ask me about, the state party or the county part or their respective county party, not mine. People know me, my county party. But no, but I'll say to them, um, it, I don't say this specifically, but I kind of ask them, ask not what your party can do for you, but what you can do for your party, which, it's the JFK line. Because oftentimes there is never enough help that a county party can get, especially if it's a smaller county. Because my complaint about my county party, not necessarily my county party, but I guess my county, is that we're one of the most populated counties in the state. And we were almost dormant during the pandemic because we didn't have anyone that wanted to become vice chair, chair, and secretary, and all the other positions that a county party needs. And we have 70,000 people in our county. We have the 14th largest city in the state, and that almost happened to us. So county parties are never short, or there can never be enough help that a county party can get. And
the county party is never going to tell you that's okay, we're all full up, we don't need any more volunteers. That's not ever going to happen.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. It's always necessary. And if you think that you're not the kind of person that needs to be involved because you're not politically savvy or well spoken enough, or you don't like talking to people, just go to a meeting, because I promise you it's not going to be a lot of people there usually, and you'll be able to meet them all and get to know them, and you'll feel comfortable soon. And then you could bring a friend or tell someone else about it, and it grows. So yeah.
And there is no high bar to participate. That's one of the greatest things about our party, our big tip party, is we don't have some rule or some fee, that you have to have an advanced degree in political science and you have to pay an entry fee. You just have to show up, bring your voice and respect and with your cause, but show up. That's what it takes to be a part of the Democratic Party infrastructure. I literally just drove over to Tulsa County and said, give me something to do. That's literally what happened. I didn't say, here's my resume. I didn't say, this is what I know. I said, give me something to do. And when they asked me to run for office, I was like, let me run for something where I'm not on camera, where I don't have to talk to a lot of people. Just give me something to do. That's all it takes. You don't have to know the political history of your county. You don't have to know any of your local politicians personally. You will if you get involved, but you don't have to. Just show up.
I think that's all the questions that I have for today. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with? Anything about being chair and the convention? in a couple of weeks.
Okay, I was hoping you'd let me do a convention commercial.
Go
So,
ahead if you want to.
so the Oklahoma Democratic Party convention is June 3rd and 4th in Tulsa, Oklahoma, downtown at the Tulsa Convention Center. We added an event yesterday. David Pepper, author of Laboratories of Autocracy, has written another book on grassroots organizing. He has chosen the Oklahoma Convention, to do a soft launch. So we're going to get our hands on his brand new book before it has the big wide launch. He's going to do a soft launch. He's going to be at a bookstore, read a couple of chapters, ask a couple of questions. That's on Friday night, June 2nd. Saturday, June 3rd, we're going to have breakout sessions, star-studded breakout sessions. We've invited guests from Kentucky, Ohio, Nebraska, Texas, Minnesota. We've invited folks from, all over the nation to come and talk to us about organizing and give us an insight into what happens in other places, so that we can have, a good foundation. And then we also invited NDTC, which is NDTC, National Democratic Training Company, is coming in to do some recruiting training and some how to help a candidate build their plan training. Really excited about that. That's Saturday morning to Saturday afternoon. Saturday evening is our Carl Albert Awards Gala, where we're awarding notable Democrats. And our keynote speaker is Beto O'Rourke, former congressman from Texas. Then the business is on Sunday, June 4th, where we update our constitution and bylaws, set about our state platform, and elect leadership for the next 2 years. Our keynote speaker there is Ken Martin, who is the chair of the Minnesota DFL. He's the president of the Association of Democratic Committees, and he is a vice chair of the DNC. So we're bringing in star power. I hope that people will come, participate, learn. That is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, June 2nd through 3rd, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I hope that you're there. And since I get to be on camera, I'm going to say I am running for re-election, and I hope that I have your support.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Gregory.